Hello everyone, Chris here. I'm making this video kind of still having to pinch myself. At the time of making this video, I have been playing the Tomb Raider remasters for about a week. I don't want you to think that I am rushing out an opinion. So I had these expectations going into it, and I just want to share some thoughts about the reality of the game. This is not going to be a super long video. I want to touch on some things from the first 3 levels and just a feel of some of the extra things that we get to experience in the game. As you can see, I'll be playing on PlayStation from my sofa at last, and there will be a bigger video in the coming days after this as well, just to give a bigger overview of the games as a whole. Let's swan dive in. And so right from the start, you can see already tiny little environmental things. Lara's breathing. You can see her breath on the air. And we already have things like snow. Just little bits of snow. The shadows are much better than they were in Tomb Raider 1, obviously, and Lara's model goes without saying, she looks fantastic. At any point during the game, you can switch between new graphics and old graphics. And you can already sort of see the massive difference in graphical quality. All of the textures seem to have been upscaled. Most of the textures, I would say, it's a bit confusing because they look how you remember them, but they're all shiny in HD. Now, one of the things that I've noticed they've done, and I really like this, they haven't added many new things in terms of environmental things, by which I mean new geometry, new parts of the map. I don't think they've ever really done that, apart from in places where maybe they thought some of these rooms and caves were too dark. They wanted the caves to be brighter, and instead of just added some sort of ambient lighting to brighten up the room, they've physically made room. They alter the roof to let in light, to let in more snow. It's a really nice touch, and you'll notice this several places throughout the games. Now we come to a part where I do want to talk about the controls, because if you go into the menu and you go down, you have your control schemes, and you can have tank controls, classic controls, proper controls, or modern controls. And we're going to try the modern controls now. I have remapped the controls to be slightly more classic. I've moved the jump button to be square, roll is circle again, and either pick up or fire is X. I can never remember which. This is one of the things that's really annoyed me. They've really gone for what they did in Legend Anniversary Underworld in terms of controls. They have a button for interact and a button for shoot. I don't know why they make 2 different buttons instead of just keeping it as one, as in the classics. The X button did just fine. So now I'm forever, if I'm using the modern controls, I'm forever trying to remember, hang on, is X shoot, or is X R2, or is R2 pick up, or is X pick up? I mean, it's a case of just trying both. It's not a big deal. But when we have modern controls, they are very sensitive. Lara will be running all over the place, kind of like she is in, well, Legend Anniversary Underworld. I would highly recommend tailoring the modern controls in terms of dead zone and sensitivity to something that you are comfortable with, because otherwise you might pick it up and be like, whoa, she is moving crazy, crazy fast. Find what fits for you, whether that be the tank controls or the modern controls. Maybe you want it on super high sensitivity or super low sensitivity. Just find something that fits for you, because you will find something. But as I've been saying for a long time, oh my goodness, look, now Lara cannot hop backwards. Lara cannot jump backwards. Lara jumps towards the camera if you press back. This is not going to be a problem for new players. For players who have never played classic Tomb Raider or used the tank controls before, this is just going to feel like a new modern game, which is fine. You can move the camera around, you can make her look and run wherever you want, completely intuitively. If you do want her to jump backwards though, you have to have your guns held out, and you have to hold the guns out button down before you do your side jumps or anything. This only really comes into play during combat. Some of you classic players might be wondering, but how do we do the backflips up onto ledges? I find it's a bit of a faff to do with your guns out, so what's much, much easier to do is literally just run at the things that you would usually backflip onto from the side, and you will get the same result. You can still do these things. See, here is another fantastic example of what they've done with a space to make the lighting a bit more believable. Like, why would this be quite as bright as it is with no natural light source? Flick it to the new one. They've opened a hole in the ceiling to let light pour into the room, exactly where the vegetation is. Hence why there's so much vegetation growing there. It's where the light falls. It's a really nice little touch. As you can see, the vegetation is 3D. It's sticking out of the walls. It's been built from the ground up to add to the game. I love this touch. You're going to see some things later on that, oh, just wait. I'm so happy about that. One cool thing that's actually been brought over from future past Tomb Raider games is the 180 flip jump. I don't know how we coped without it in the past. I do not know. It is such a great idea to bring this over. Now then, with the lack of proper auto grab, one thing that she does do is if there's a ledge within reach and you just jump up, she will auto grab that. But if you jump towards something without pressing grab, she will hit the wall and fall off. However, as things are much more precarious in terms of, well, sensitive controls, I would recommend to any new player the walk button is your friend, especially when you're near ledges. If you're trying to line up jumps, very important, walk button. Another thing I really like about the new controls, surprisingly, I didn't think I'd find myself enjoying this. If she runs towards the edge, she will fall off as normal. Great, that's exactly what I would expect her to do. However, if she runs towards the edge and you think at the last second, oh heck, I'm gonna run and she's gonna die, you press interact at the last minute, she will do a last chance save grab. It's really cool. And I think I like it in here better than how it was implemented in Legend and Anniversary and Underworld, because it's a choice. In that game, if you run towards the edge, she will just do that automatically. It saves the player dying, it saves people a lot of frustration. I get why they did it, not a fan. Prefer her to do what I'm making her do, whether that be run off a ledge to her doom or spin round and grab a ledge at the very last second. So much nostalgia associated with this whole room with the bridges. Are you ready for this room? It's so pretty. It's so pretty. Look, just, they've done so well. Again, they've opened up the ceiling, they've let more light through. Lovely bit of snow, lovely bit of atmosphere in here. Look, the vines are moving. Gently just swaying in that breeze. It's such a nice technique, and it just brings the environments a little bit more to life to make them less static and more new. As you can see, I've actually switched over more to the modern controls. Have a little run around. I do find myself switching back and forth between them. An interesting thing as well that they've added in the controls menu, action indicators and walk to action. You can see there's a medipack on the floor. Oh, there's an exclamation. You can pick this up. But as classic fans know, it could have been quite a bit of a faff just to get her in exactly the right position to pick things up. Not anymore. Walk to action. You hold that button and Lara steps towards and picks it up herself. Fantastic addition. That is going to save a lot of frustration from a lot of players. However, if, like me, you prefer less heads-up display in any way whatsoever, in the controls you can actually switch off action indicators. However, you really best remember where all those keys are, because sometimes the keys are tiny and on a dark background and you will run right over them several times, as I did. Thank you, Stella. You've yet again saved my bacon. The music exactly the same as it was in the originals. All secrets and everything like that in exactly the same place. Not a problem. Half the nostalgia came from that anyway. There's one final thing that I want to quickly run through just from Tomb Raider 1. This is another thing that applies to all three, and that is photo mode. Absolutely huge fan of photo mode. Very, very basic photo mode. You can't do anything really with filters, depth of field. You can't position the characters when you're in photo mode, but you can change the angle of the photo. You can make things different in terms of field of view. You can change her pose though. You can make it look like she's mid-fight or sitting down. You have to properly align things for sitting down, but I'll go through that more in depth in a future video. You can change her face. I'm not going to show you them actually. You can find those out for yourself. And you can, of course, you can cycle through all of the outfits. Only for within photo mode, you don't get to select the outfits that you want at any given time. You can then hide your user interface and take your screenshot. A cool thing about photo mode as well is that at any given time you think, oh heck, I might have missed a secret, or I wonder what's up over that ledge. Do I need to go there? Is it worth the effort of scaling that wall? Photo mode is great for that. Tomb Raider 2 initially is just so vibrant and pretty. Again, they've really outdone themselves with the lighting. It just looks so much nicer just with where the light is coming from, the sort of glow it gives the atmosphere. I don't want to spoil. It's really hard to review these things accurately and not be like, oh my god, I can't wait for you to see X, Y, Z. And let me just say, the last few levels of Tomb Raider 2, the most vibrant, colourful levels Tomb Raider has ever had. Holy crap, so good. Cannot wait for people to experience these. I am not the biggest fan of this water. It doesn't look particularly incredible. It's fine, don't get me wrong. Fine for what it is. But I think a little more surface motion would make it clearer that there is water there, because sometimes it can be a little bit invisible. As you can see there, it's not obvious that she's in water. You can just see a slight haze over the surface. That might be something they fix in future. We'll see. One of the things I was talking about as well with the modern controls, find what works for you in terms of sensitivity. It can make platforming a lot faster if you get used to the way that she moves. But there are issues when the camera is in tight places. Sometimes it will feel like you're actively fighting against the camera in modern controls. There's no issues with the camera in tank controls. This is really something that I hope they fix in future. Modern controls do work nicely underwater, I find. Directing her around with the camera, she moves where you want her to move. No problem. Oops. Modern controls long jumps can be a bit fiddly. You can hop backwards and do it that way. Probably the fastest way, to be honest, just to make sure that she always does that grab. But it can be done without hopping backwards. She can just do a little loop on the tile before jumping, and as long as she gets the 1-2 steps in before jumping and that you're at the very edge of the tile, should be fine. How pretty is this? Look at that. Look at that glow up. Look at that horizon. Wow. The foliage is really, really cool. I adore what the... Get away from me, crows. Oh no, she might die. Or not. Interesting. Perhaps we just discovered a glitch in the review. As you can see as well, the enemies have been redone in 3D with nice new textures. And just look at that environment. You can't tell me that's not absolutely beautiful. Look at it. Look at it. Oh. Final thought on Tomb Raider 2 though, those bloody little spiders. I do not remember them taking so much ammo. Now when it comes to Tomb Raider 3, I think this is the game that's had the biggest glow up because, oh wow, the number of times I've stopped throughout these first few India levels and just gawped at how stunning and vibrant everything is. Look at it compared to the original, okay? Just look. The additions to the environments with new 3D foliage, plants, trees. Oh, it's just stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. Look at the waterfalls, the way they cascade down things. You'll see more of those, of course, in Tomb Raider 1 and 2. They're just something else in Tomb Raider 3, though. They also do some really cool things, which I'm not going to spoil for you. You can find out for yourselves. It is absolutely spectacular. And the foliage in the jungle itself, let me just quickly show you. Just check it out. Look at it. It's just so vibrant. And the dark places in the jungle, they are really gloomy. Sometimes you'll need a flare, but that music track, there's something spooky in the jungle. For the first time, I believe it. I'm not going to show you too much in there. One of the other cool things that they've actually added, you know that you can crouch in Tomb Raider 3, that's obviously part of the game itself, but she can do the diving roll, which I think was from 4 or 5, I can't remember which. If it was in 3, I never knew about it. So that's a cool little addition. It makes navigating tunnels so much less tedious. It's great. But also flipping forwards out of things instead of having to like turn her around and back her out. So good. I'm so glad that they brought over these things as well. At the time of doing this review, I have completed Tomb Raider 1, 2, and I am on the River Ganges. So just diving into Tomb Raider 3, I can't comment too much on the other level sets of Tomb Raider 3, but if they're anywhere near as beautiful as the India levels, we are in for an absolute treat. They haven't been shown off yet publicly, but unlike the FMVs, the in-game cutscenes have been redone effectively. They've been reskinned at least, and lip-synced, so you can see the new cutscenes with the new character models. Not just Lara, all of the models. Pierre's quite cute. One final little extra that I will hint at for the super hardcore players among us is that upon completing the game, let's say you will get something pretty cool that absolutely cements my opinion that classic Tomb Raider is the Dark Souls of platform gaming, full stop. So I am going to leave you with some final thoughts. First of all, yes, of course, the DLCs for Tomb Raider 1, 2 and 3 are included in the game, all remastered. I'm not going to be reviewing them because I've never played them yet. I want to experience them in my own time, and I'm going to become a recluse while I do that because these are the final parts of classic Tomb Raider that I never played. I did manage to play the first DLC years and years and years ago, but I've never played the ones from 2 and 3. But once they're done, classic Tomb Raider's over for me. It's sad times, but super exciting. I can't wait to see them all remastered in these graphics because I know next to nothing about them. I don't know what's in them, etc. But the big question, should you play the game? Yes, wholeheartedly, 100 million, 1,000 billion% yes. Whether you're a new fan or an old fan, get the game, get the games. For new players, if you've maybe only played the Survivor trilogy or everything since Crystal Dynamics took over and you were even remotely curious about what came before, get it. Find out why everyone fell in love with Lara Croft and Tomb Raider in the first place. It's such a different beast to the newer games. It is almost so much more chill. So many times you'll just be exploring a level, running around with Lara, trying to find out what to do, trying to climb up things, pulling blocks. It's not just this sort of constant onslaught of negative, bad things that happen to Lara. It's not a huge ongoing set piece like many things in particularly Shadow of the Tomb Raider felt like. It's so much calmer and you just feel much more involved because everything is so much more interactive. But for new players, please do tailor those modern controls if you do. A little bit worried about that. But selfishly, we have the game now. We have Tomb Raider 1, 2 and 3 that we can play wherever we want. On PC, on your sofa, which I've wanted to do again for so long, and waking up early on the weekends to play Tomb Raider has made me feel like a kid again and just thrown me headfirst into this amazing pool of nostalgia. It's wonderful. And for old players, if you're still on the fence, get off the fence. Pre-order the game, buy the game, play the game. Because it's like meeting Lara all over again. In a very sentimental way, it's like meeting an old friend for the first time in decades. Potentially, in some cases, an old friend who you never thought you would ever see again. And she might look new, maybe she's had a facelift, but inside it's still that same person, that same friend that you went on all of those adventures with all of those years ago, and now you can relive those in super beautiful, shiny graphics. I am so excited to see all of social media covered in photo mode pictures of classic Lara, for classic Tomb Raider to be everywhere again. I'm so happy. Viva Classic Lara.